Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position on a block or a pillow, blanket, towel, something that will allow your spine and the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. Soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is Pratyahara. So the fifth limb of the 8 limbs of yoga is Pratyahara. Pratyahara. There we go. It is the bridge between the first 4 limbs of yoga, the yamas, the niyamas, the asanas, the pranayamas, and those particular 4 limbs focus our awareness on our internal or external. Maybe I could do a retake. Focus us on our external world. And that bridge connects us to the last 3 limbs of yoga, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So the pratyahara is pratyahara is the connector, the bridge. And those last 3 limbs focus our awareness on our internal world. So we're kind of in a transition spot. So if you look at the definition for pratyahara, the translation is withdrawal from senses or withdrawal from the senses. And this is not to be taken literally. It's more about withdrawing from or not reacting to sensory impressions so you can free your mind and move within. You still are registering the input from your sensory organs, like your eyes and your ears, your nose, your mouth, your fingers, but you learn not to react to that input. So you are, in essence, in the world, but not of it. You're not keying into those things. So there's a pranayama breathing technique. I'm having a hard time with my Sanskrit this morning. So it's a breathing technique called Bhramari, and it's named after the bee, national bee of India, the humming and it's also called the Bhramari Breath. So there's 2 parts to it, and I'm going to show you the 2 parts first, and then I'm going to let you choose which of the 2 you want to do And there's the second part kind of gets layered on top of the first part, if you'd like. And so then after I show you, I'm going to move back to the mat and we can experiment with this breathing technique. And what it does is it closes down the gates of perception, and it's very effective in kind of shutting down your mind and shutting down those external sensory senses that we sometimes let us let overwhelm us. Whoa. So the first part, the mouth and the eyes are closed. And I can't close my mouth because then I can't talk. So the mouth and the eyes are closed. And then when you press your ear flap cartilage, and it's called the tragus, it's that little ear flap cartilage, you gently press it in so you can't hear anything. And then you neutrally inhale and hum on the exhale. That's where it gets its name, humming bee breath. So on the inhale, you're just breathing in, and on the exhale, you're humming, and the sound emanates from your throat, not from your nose. So that's part one. So part two is adding a mudra to it, and the mudra is called Shanmukhi, and it kind of touches all the areas of the senses. So you put your thumbs on those little flaps in your ears. You're going to take my glasses off. Your index fingers are on the eyes. Your middle fingers is reciting next to your nose, not to close down your nose. Ring fingers above your mouth and pinkies are below your mouth. So you're kind of touching on all those senses, including your fingers that are doing the touching. So that's, if you just do that, that kind of closes everything down too. So together, they're very effective in withdrawing from the external world or external senses. So I'm going to go to the mat and let's do that just for, let's say 5, so that we all kind of end at the same time. So we're going to take 5 breaths, and on the exhale, humming. And again, you can do the part 1 only, or part 1 with mudra, or just the mudra. Everybody all set? And so now we'll start our asana practice. We'll start with our sun breaths. And again, we're going to go real slow, just like we talked about last week with the pranayamas, that ideally the inhale and the exhale would be of equal length, and that would be 5.5 seconds. So that's pretty slow. So let's do that again. So bringing our fingertips to the sides of our mat, we'll slowly bring them up. On the inhale, bring our hands overhead. And then exhale, bringing it slowly down to our heart center. Inhale, open. And exhale, close. Inhale up. And exhale down. Nice, long, deep breaths. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale up. And then exhale down. And then we'll bring our legs side by side. I have my right leg sitting in front of the left leg. And we're going to just gently walk our hands out in front of us until you come to that sweet spot between effort and relaxation. And then if you can, try to guide your elbows down to the mat. They may not all reach all the way down. And just kind of breathe into that for a moment. And then we'll lift our arms back up. We'll walk our hands over to the right and twisting our torso as we do. See if you can reach so that your torso is kind of sitting over your thigh. And then I'll walk our hands back toward our knee. Bring our knee up toward the sky. Wrap the left arm around the right knee. Send the right fingertips behind the hips. Twisting your torso to the right and sending your gaze straight ahead. And we'll come back to center and we'll do that on the other side. So swapping out legs, bringing your left leg in front of your right leg. And then again, gently walking your hands out, finding that sweet spot. And then if you can, guiding your forearms and elbows down to the mat. Breathing into this. And then lifting your arms and elbows back up, walking your hands over to the left, and just see if you can bring your torso over your left leg. And then walking your hands back toward your knee, bringing your knee up toward the sky, wrapping your right arm around your left knee, and your left fingertips go behind your hips, twisting your torso to the left, sending your gaze straight ahead. And then we'll come back to center. We'll come up into tabletop. So bringing yourself up onto your hands and knees. Wrists are right below your shoulders, knees right below your hips. Navel's tucked to your spine. And gently pushing down into your hands to create that even distribution of weight. Bring distance between your shoulders and your ears. And we'll do a few head turns. So we're going to turn our head gently to the right till it reaches that sweet spot, and then bringing it back down to center and gently continue over to the left, the sweet spot, and then back down, and gently continuing over to the right. Do this a few more times. So back down, turning your head to the left, and then coming back down again, and then over to the right, and then back down, and one last time to the left. We'll bring the head back to center, and we'll do a few cat-cows here. So we're going to round our back, dropping our head and tailbone down, and taking a deep exhale as we do that. And then inhaling, lifting our head and tailbone up, sending our gaze straight ahead. And then bringing our head back down, rounding our back, dropping our tailbone and head. And then inhaling, coming back up to cow. And then exhaling back to cat. And you just continue for a few moments. Just going nice and slow. Maybe trying to find that 5.5 seconds per inhale and exhale. And then we'll come back to center, back to tabletop. And where your hands are now, remove your hands and bring your elbows into that spot, those imprints of your hands. And stretching your fingers toward the front of the mat. And then we'll just kind of walk our knees back, bringing our forehead down to the mat. And just find, again, that sweet spot where your forehead can be on the mat. And just kind of stretching out your spine. Doggy pose. And then we'll lift our head back up and walk our knees back up and come out of that puppy pose. Back to tabletop. Then we'll send our right leg down to the bottom of the mat and kickstand our left foot outside the mat. We're going to sweep our right hand all the way up to the sky, following it with our gaze. And then once we reach the sky, we're going to lift up and come back. Bring that right hand over to our right leg, sweeping our left hand up to the sky. So it's a combination of modified plank and gate pose. So then we'll bring our left hand back down to the mat, sending the right hand up to the sky, and then bringing the right hand back down to the mat. We'll do that 2 more times. So sweeping the right hand straight up to the sky, following it with your gaze, and then lifting up and sending the right hand to your right leg, lifting the left hand up, coming into gate pose, and then coming back down. Left hand comes back down to the mat, Right hand goes up to the sky, and then the right hand comes down to the mat. And then sweeping the hand again, all the way up to the sky. And lifting up, sending the right hand to the right leg. And then the left arm comes up and over. And then coming back down. Left hand comes back to the mat. Right hand goes up, extending to the sky. And then the right hand comes down to the mat. And we'll do that on the other side. So we'll extend the left leg and then kickstand the right leg outside the mat. Your wrist is right below your shoulder. And we'll sweep the left hand up to the sky, following it with our eyes. And then we'll lift up, sending our left hand to our left leg. Right hand goes up to the sky and coming over for gate pose. And then back down, slowly bringing the right hand back down to the mat, sending the left hand up to the sky. And then the left hand comes back down to the mat. And sweeping the left hand again up, following it with our gaze. Left hand comes up to the sky, down to the left leg. Right hand comes up to the sky and over a little bit. And then back down again. The left hand comes back down. One last time, sweeping the left hand all the way up to the sky. Lifting up. And then bringing the left hand to the left leg. Right hand up to the sky. And then right hand comes back down. Left hand reaches for the sky. And then it comes back down to the mat. And come back to tabletop. And then we'll lean our hips back, resting on our ankles, coming into hero's pose. And then bring our hands around the back, really relaxing our shoulders so we can interlace our fingers around our back. And then gently reaching our fingers down toward the mat. And then lifting them back up again. They kind of come to waist level. And then sliding those fingers down toward the mat again. Just relaxing the shoulders, letting them roll back. And then come back up with your fingers toward your waist. And then back down toward the mat. And relaxing your shoulders, letting them roll back as you get closer to the mat. And then one last time, up toward the waist. And then sending your fingertips or fingers down toward the mat, rolling your shoulders back. Great. And then coming back to tabletop. We'll tuck our toes under, walk our hands back, come into the squat position, and then push down into the balls of our feet, come up to mountain pose. We'll line our toes up with a straight edge of the mat, lifting our toes up off the mat and spreading them apart as much as possible, and then bringing them back down to the mat, lifting our heels off the mat, and then slowly lowering our heels down to the mat, and really connecting and getting grounded. Then part of mountain pose is essentials of good posture. So our legs are nice and straight and strong. Nice little flex in our knees. Navel's tucked to the spine, elongating our spine in the back of our neck. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is tucked ever so slightly toward the back of your neck. Crown of your head reaches for the sky. And then we'll sweep our hands up with a big inhale. And then a big exhale will bring the hands back down to the mat, bending your knees as you go, protecting your lower back. And then bringing your hands to your shins, straightening out your back and creating that nice long spine, back of the neck. And then dropping the crown of your head down toward the mat. And just let your fingertips dangle here for a few moments. Let gravity take over. And then sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. And as they come up overhead, we're going to lift up onto our tippy toes. Coming all the way up, stretching toward the sky. And then slowly lowering our hands and slowly lowering our heels back down. And then we'll sweep our hands 2 more times. So slowly sweeping up and slowly coming up onto our tippy toes. And then slowly lowering back down with control. Heels reach the mat again. And one last time, sweeping our hands up to the sky, coming up on our tippy toes. And then slowly lowering our hands back down and our heels back down. And then we're going to lower our hands all the way back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, bringing the hands to the shins, creating that nice long spine, back of the neck. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up again. Nice big inhale. And the hands come overhead, and we're going to interlace our fingers, except for extending the index finger up to the sky. So they're all interlaced, but the index finger is reaching to the sky. And then we'll kind of take our left hip and send it over to the left as we tip our torso over to the right. And then back up again. And extend our right hip over to the right, tipping our torso over to the left. And then back up again. One more time for each side. We'll tip over to the right. And then back up again. And then tip over to the left. And back up again. And release our hands and bring them back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, bringing our hands to our shins, nice flat back, nice straight neck. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. Then we're going to take our left hand, placing it on the mat, right in front of our left foot, and then bend the knee on our left leg toward our left arm, keeping our right leg straight. And then we'll sweep the right hand all the way up to the sky. And then back down again. And switch places. So the right hand goes in front of the right foot. We're going to bend the right knee toward the right arm. Left leg is straight. Again, keep that little flex in the leg. It doesn't have to be solidly straight. And sweeping your hand, left hand up to the sky, following it with your gaze. And then coming back down. And then we'll sweep our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. And palms come to heart center. And then palms come to the back of the hips. So our feet are about hip width apart. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. Fingertips are pointing down toward the mat. And we're going to just roll our shoulders relaxed. Roll them back. Tuck our chin toward our chest. And then drop our shoulders back for supported back bend. Again, find that sweet spot where your breath is still nice and even, strong. And then we'll come back up to mountain pose. Well done, everyone. Alrighty, so we'll sweep our hands all the way up overhead with a big inhale. And then exhale, bringing our hands all the way down to the mat. Bending our knees as we go. Placing our hands on the mat, we're going to extend the right leg back, come into runner's lunge. So our left knee is right above the left ankle. Hands are framing the left foot. Right leg's nice and straight, strong, heel pushing toward the back of the mat. We'll place the right hand on the mat and sweep the left hand up to the sky. And then bringing it back down again. So kind of going outward and then inward. And then bringing the right knee to the mat, top of the right foot down to the mat. We're going to do a few half monkeys here. So we're going to keep the left foot on the mat and kind of ride our left leg with our chest or torso resting on our left leg as we straighten out the left leg. So we're just going to ride the left leg down as we straighten it out. And then we'll come back up again where the knee's over the ankle. And then just kind of gently bring the knee forward a little bit, lifting our chest and chin up to gaze straight ahead. Feeling that stretch in the other direction. So we'll do that 2 more times. So keeping the left foot on the mat, straightening out the left leg, riding it down as far as you can, that's comfortable. And then coming back up to low lunge, and then just extending that knee ahead toward your toes, just a little bit, lifting our chest and chin up. And one last time, riding our leg down. And then walking back up, coming to low lunge, And then extending that knee a little bit further, lifting our chest and chin up, staring straight ahead. And then we'll come back to runner's lunge, tucking our toe underneath, and then pivoting the back foot down. We're going to come into warrior one. So lifting up to warrior one. We're going to take our left leg and then maybe just move it to the left side by 2 feet so that our feet aren't lined up on a straight line. They're kind of on a railroad tracks. And then bending our left knee over, coming into warrior one this way. Lifting our arms up to the sky, creating a little bit of back bend. And then bringing our hands down and bringing them behind our hips, interlacing our fingers. We could go into humble warrior. So you could do either a modified humble warrior, just coming out kind of parallel with your thigh, or you can go into the full humble warrior by bringing your left shoulder down toward your left knee, sending your gaze back to your right foot, and sending your arms up to or hands up to the sky. And then we'll release the hands, bring them back down to the mat, come back to runner's lunge. And then sending the left foot back to the right foot, coming into downward dog. We'll walk our downward dog out a little bit, kind of pedal out. And then we're going to bring the right knee to the right elbow. And then back to downward dog again, pedal out. And then right knee comes to the right elbow again. And then back to downward dog, pedal out. And I'm going to bring the right knee down to the mat right behind the right wrist. And your bottom part of your leg is going to be angled to the left side of the mat. And the angle depends on you. You can decide if you want to have it more straight or have the shin part more parallel with the top of the mat. And we'll slide our left foot down. Back knee comes to the mat and coming into pigeon pose. And we'll have our chest open, gaze straight ahead. And then walk our hands toward the front of the mat, coming down on our elbows, coming into reclined pigeon. You can rest your head on, on your arms for reclined pigeon. And then we'll come back up again, come back up onto our arms, tuck our back toes under, lifting our leg up, coming back to downward dog. And pedal out here for a moment. And then slowly walk our feet up to our hands coming into forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up to the sky. Palms come together and palms come to heart center. Okay, we'll do that all on the other side. So again, sweeping our hands all the way up overhead and then bringing them down to the mat as we bend our knees. And I'm trying to remember which leg I did before. I think I just send the left leg back. Yep. Extend the left leg back, coming into runner's lunge. Right knee's right over the right ankle. Bringing the left hand down to the mat, sweeping the right hand up to the sky. Just following that hand with your gaze. And then bringing the right hand back down. Then we'll bring the left knee back down to the mat. Top of the left foot comes to the mat, coming into position for a half monkey. So we're in low lunge now. And then we're going to keep that right foot on the mat, straightening out the right leg, riding it down. And then walking our hands back and back to low lunge. And then extending that right knee a little bit toward the toes, sending our chest forward, gaze forward. And then we'll do that 2 more times. So keeping the foot on the mat, walking hands back a little bit, straightening the leg, following it down with our torso. And then walking our hands back, coming into low lunge, extending the knee a little bit forward, opening up the chest, sending the gaze forward. And one last time, riding our leg down for half monkey. And then forward, back to low lunge, and then extending it a little forward. And then back to runner's lunge. So we're tucking our back toes under, coming up to runner's lunge. And then pivoting the back foot down, we'll rise up to warrior one. I'm going to move our right foot out toward the right side a couple of steps so that our feet are not on the same track, but they're on 2 different tracks. Arms are raised up, nice gentle back bend. And then we'll lower our hands behind our hips. We'll interlace our fingers. Again, you can pivot forward for a modified humble warrior. Or bringing your right shoulder down to your right knee. More full expression of humble warrior. Setting your gaze back to your foot, your back foot rather. And then we'll release our fingers, bring our hands back down to the mat, coming back to runner's lunge. Scooch your feet back into position. And then bringing your right foot back to your left, coming into downward dog. And we'll pedal out here for a little bit. And we'll bring our left knee to our left elbow, pushing off the right foot, And then back again to downward dog and pedal out. And lifting the left knee, going to the left elbow, and then back for downward dog. And then lifting the left knee and bringing it down to the mat right behind the left wrist, angling your left foot toward the right side of the mat at whatever level is comfortable for you. And then sliding your right leg down so the knee and the top of the foot rest against the mat. We'll just open up our chest, sending our heart forward. And then walking our hands toward the top of the mat, coming down to recline pigeon. And you can cross your arms and rest your head on your arms. We'll lift our head up again, come back to pigeon pose, tuck our toes under, lifting up our leg and coming back to downward dog. And just pedal out here for a moment. And slowly walk your feet up to your hands, coming into forward fold. And sweeping your hands all the way up overhead. Hands come together. Hands come to heart center. Then we'll bring our pinky toes out to the edges, tucking our heels in at a 45-degree angle. We'll come into a wide-legged squat, so gently lower your hips down toward the mat, bending your knees. Your torso comes in between your knees and your elbows rest gently on the inner part of your knees. And slide your hands down toward the mat, create a little bit more of a stretch if you like. And then we'll put our hands on the mat. We're going to come into tabletop here. So bring yourself into tabletop, and then we're going to do thread the needle. So once you're in tabletop, wrists right below your shoulders, knees right below your hips, navel's tucked to the spine. We're going to sweep the right hand up to the side, about shoulder height, and then sweep it under your torso over to the left side of the mat. Bring your right shoulder down to the mat. And your left hand can stay on the mat, or it can bring it to the back of your hips, just opening up your chest a little bit. And then we'll bring our left hand back to the mat if it's not there already. Gently push down, coming back up to tabletop. We'll do that on the other side. So back to tabletop, and then we'll take our left hand, sweep it out to the side about shoulder height, and then sweep it down and underneath our torso over to the left side of the mat, bringing our left shoulder down to the mat, left ear down to the mat. You can leave your right hand right on the mat or bring it to the back of your hips, opening up your chest a little bit. And then bringing the right hand back down to the mat, gently pushing down into that, coming back to tabletop. And then we're going to bring our hips down to our ankles, come into child's pose. And this time we're going to kind of bring our arms all around our side of us to the back of our feet so that we're in this tight little cocoon, if you will, going inward. One of the symbols for Pratyahara is a tortoise or a turtle, where it extends its limbs out and then it tucks them all into the shell. So you're kind of using your limbs to kind of walk around the world, and then when you want to go inward, you just pull everything in like a turtle. And then we'll come back up to tabletop. We'll swing our legs to one side and come onto our seat so that we can roll down to the mat. And you can choose whichever way you'd like to roll down, express method or slowly rolling down, feeling each vertebra as it connects to the mat. And then once you've landed, bring your knees to your chest and give them a nice hug. So there's two ways of doing a turtle. One is child's pose, and then one this way, knees to chest. And then we're going to take our interlaced fingers and wrap them around our left leg, extending the right leg down toward the end of the mat, pointing our toes, and then lifting that right leg all the way up to the sky, flexing our foot, and then pointing our toes again and lowering it back down. We'll do this a couple times. So you can keep your foot hovering above the mat, or you can reach all the way down to the mat if you like. So again, keeping the toes pointed, we're going to send our foot up to the sky, pointing our toes toward the sky, and then flexing our foot so that the sole of our foot greets the sky, and then pointing our toes again, lowering our foot back down. Lifting it back up again. Keeping our toes pointed, and when we reach the top, we'll flex our foot, and then pointing our toes again, lowering it back down. You can bring that right leg in to your chest. Both legs are to the chest, and give them a hug. And then we'll do that on the other side. So wrapping your fingers around your right knee, we're going to extend the left leg forward, keeping the toes pointed. Sending the toes up to the sky, pointing to the stars. Flexing the foot so the sole is reaching to the sky. And then pointing our toes again, lowering our foot down to the mat. Once it reaches the mat, we gently inhale, bringing it back up again. Pointing to the sky, flexing your foot, sole to the sky, Then pointing your toes again and back down. Bring the knees, both knees again to the chest. We'll do a few rowboats. So we're going to slowly extend our arms while our hands are on our knees. Extend the arms forward. And then on the exhale, we're going to open up our knees, bring the soles of our feet together. Inhale, we're going to guide our knees toward our shoulders. And then exhale, closing them against our chest. We'll do that a few more times too. So extend your arms, sending your knees forward on the inhale. Slowly open both knees to each side. Soles come together. Exhale. Draw the knees back toward the shoulders. And then close your knees over your chest. One more time, extending the arms forward. Knees go to each side. Soles of your feet come together. Drawing the knees toward our shoulders. And then closing our knees over our chest. We'll send both arms out to the side, making a T at shoulder height. And then on the exhale, slowly dropping our knees to the right side. And once they've landed, slowly turning your head to look at your left fingertips. Gently turning your head back to center, gently lifting your legs back to center. Now dropping the legs over to the left side. And then once they've landed, slowly turning your head to look at your right fingertips. And slowly turning your head back to center, lifting your legs back to center, and sending your feet down to the bottom of the mat, preparing for Shavasana. Just letting your feet go to each corner, and then just relaxing them, relaxing your legs, relaxing your hips. Your shoulders are relaxed into the mat. Taking a deep breath in and exhaling, letting everything relax into the mat. This morning's poem is by Dana Faulds, titled Go In and In. Go in and in, be the space between the cells, the vast, resounding silence in which spirit dwells. Be sugar dissolving on the tongue of life. Dive in and in, as deep as you can dive. Be infinite, ecstatic truth. Be love conceived and born in union. Be exactly what you seek. The beloved, singing yes, tasting yes, embracing yes, until there is only essence. Be all of everything expressing through you as you. Go in, and turn away from nothing that you find.